Hey all, Adam Conway here and welcome back to the XDA Developers YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the POCO X3 GT, which just launched at the company's launch event. This is yet another POCO device in the X3 line, following on from the X3 NFC/X3 and the X3 Pro. This one, however, has a MediaTek Dimensity chip powering it and has a little bit of a different design than the other devices in this range. We're just going to be doing a quick hands-on. This is not a review. I'm just talking about some of the features and some of the things that I've noticed using it over the last couple of days. This is Adam Conway with XDA TV. Let's get into it. So let's just give a rundown of the specifications in this smartphone. There's a MediaTek Dimensity 1100, up to 8GB of RAM, that's LPDDR4X, and there is also up to 256GB of UFS 3.1 storage, which is the fastest storage you can get in a smartphone currently. There's also a 6.6-inch dot display. This is an LCD panel that goes up to 120Hz, and dynamic refresh rate switching. So in certain apps and other actions, it may drop down to as low as 30Hz. It gets up to 450 nits of brightness, which is kind of dim, and I've noticed that when I'm using it under direct sunlight. There's also a 64 megapixel primary camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel sticker camera. In other words, it's a macro camera that's 2 megapixels and does not look very good. There's also the coveted IR blaster from Xiaomi and POCO devices. There's dual speakers, which get pretty loud, and there's also a fingerprint sensor in the power button, so it activates when you turn on your phone's display. The phone itself has Gorilla Glass Victus covering the front. It's a plastic back that's quite glossy and picks up a lot of fingerprints. There's a gel case in the box that you can stick on if you'd like, but then obviously some people like to use their phones without the case, so you may not necessarily enjoy using that case. It has 67-watt turbocharging, which charges up that 5000 mAh battery in 40 minutes. This is a phone all about speed and performance and a focus on giving users a smooth Android experience, and with that you get MIUI 12.5 with all of the latest and greatest features from MIUI. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm generally a big fan of MIUI devices, so I have no issues with that. So with all the specs out of the way, how does the phone actually fare? I've been using it as a main phone just for a couple of days, and I'm enjoying using it. I think that it's a very fast phone. It does have a focus on performance, which it definitely pulls off. Games run smoothly, like PUBG and COD Mobile, your favorite games basically on the Play Store, and I don't really have any complaints about that. The speakers are powerful. It is a plastic build, as I've mentioned, so the glossy back and the plastic sides, they aren't great feeling in the hand. You can tell it's a cheap phone, but for those kind of compromises to pack it full of powerful hardware, it's worth it, to be honest. The cameras themselves are okay. I've played around with it a little bit. I'm showing you some pictures at the moment that I've taken on this phone. I haven't gotten to test it in many environments, but I've been happy enough with what this has produced. And I think that if you're getting a phone and you don't care about the camera, but you want it to be able to take decent snaps, this will do the job for you. Now, I just want to talk about that MediaTek Dimensity 1100 for a second. MediaTek chipsets are chipsets that I've been advocating for being in more phones for a long time now, particularly with the advent of the Dimensity series. The Nord 2 has the Dimensity 1200, which is not too far above this one right here, and it is powerful and it is very, very good. The Dimensity 1100 is the exact same, and it allows for cheaper smartphones with better performance, because typically we see MediaTek smartphones have a lower price, probably because MediaTek charges less for the system on chips. And it's not as if you're cutting back on your performance or your modem or anything. People know what they're getting into with performance. The 1200 is about a Snapdragon 870, and the Dimensity 1100 is about a Snapdragon 865, so there's not too much of a difference in performance there. You also get your dual 5G SIM card tray, so you're not losing out on the modem side of things where you can't have two 5G SIM cards in your smartphone. Really, there aren't any huge cutbacks here with a MediaTek chip versus a Qualcomm chip, except in emulation. You will not have as good performance in emulation in Citra or Dolphin Emulator unless you use the likes of Dolphin MMJ or Citra MMJ, which has slightly better performance for Mali GPUs, which are in MediaTek chipset. That is something you want to keep in mind if you're using a MediaTek smartphone, that your emulation performance is not going to be as good. Your 3DS emulation and your Wii emulation may not be what you are quite used to, And that is just a byproduct of Mali GPUs with emulators, so that's something to keep in mind. Overall though, I think this is a good phone for consumers. I think smartphones like these, which offer really good performance at a lower price than some of the competition, are very necessary because they drive down costs of other smartphones. The POCO X3 GT may not be exactly what you want, but it may result in other smartphones releasing at a lower price that are what you want. They may not come quite as low in cost, but they are ultimately going to drag down the average so that they are undercutting much of the market. That's why I'm a massive fan of phones like these. Even as somebody who used to only buy flagship phones, I think that mid-tier phones that offer excellent performance at lower prices are a good thing for the market overall. And you can say what you want about MIUI, etc., but people buy these phones. People like these. There are going to be advertisements in some regions. You can disable them, but you are likely going to still run into them until you turn them off. There will likely be a Xiaomi EU ROM you can install. There will also likely be de-bloating tools that you can use to remove some of stuff like this, but the phone that you get out of the box will likely have ads depending on your region, particularly in India where those are quite common on those phones. That is just something to keep in mind when you use a MIUI phone, but these advertisements generally subsidize the price, so they're not without their benefits in a sense. I personally don't like the thought of advertisements on my phone, but at least it's not advertisements for the sake of advertisements. Overall though, there is a lot to like with this phone. I'm enjoying using it. I think it looks good. I think that the performance is excellent, particularly when you think about how far MediaTek has come. The fact that they are now beginning to permeate the market in more mainstream phones that are more powerful in nature. Let me know if you'd be interested in more of a full review of this phone, because this has just been a quick hands-on to show you the phone, talk about it a little bit, and kind of just share my experiences with it so far. This has been Adam Conway with XDA TV. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.